If you told me that they were behind suppressing the paper price standing for delivery, I'd believe it. Now, just because they stand for delivery and it doesn't leave the COMEX market, some people will argue, well, it's just shuffling warrants and shuffling paper around. And to a very small degree, that is true. But the thing of it is that less than 1% of contracts my whole career for 35 years ever got to that point. They never settled in a delivery method. They would settle for cash, they would roll over, or they would exit. Now we're seeing huge deliveries that continue unabated over and over and over again that tell me that this is something that is more done for optics, more done to flush out the continued speculation and interest in a market that I think is beginning to really start to show huge volume that is only really interested in standing for delivery.
Veteran precious metals expert Andy Schectman discusses what he believes is a significant shift taking place in the gold market, highlighting the growing number of futures contracts being held for physical delivery rather than being settled in cash. He explains that for decades, only a very small percentage of COMEX contracts typically reached the delivery stage, with most traders closing or rolling their positions before expiration. According to Schectman, the recent increase in delivery requests may indicate stronger demand for physical metal and growing interest in owning tangible gold instead of paper contracts. He suggests this trend could reflect changing market behavior as investors place greater importance on physical ownership during an uncertain economic environment. In my opinion, the interview presents an interesting perspective on the evolving relationship between paper and physical gold markets. If this trend continues alongside central bank buying and global economic uncertainty, it could strengthen long-term interest in physical precious metals as a store of value and portfolio diversifier. If you found this helpful, like, share, and subscribe to the Metal Bar. Turn on the bell so you don't miss any updates and comment below to share your thoughts on it. Appreciate you for tuning in. Now listen to the interview.
The fact that we continue to see gold accumulated and accumulated by the biggest money doesn't change my feeling whatsoever. If indeed rising gold is still what they want to devalue the dollar to help reshore manufacturing, you don't need the treasury bond, but certainly would help. And I think it's not a dead in the water idea. I just think that they didn't announce it July 4th. Will they do it? Geez, I hope so. It makes a lot of sense to me. But, at this point, I think it's just better to focus on what is in front of us. And to me, that is the biggest, most well-informed money on the planet, continues to stand for delivery. Now, some is leaving. 170 million ounces of silver have been withdrawn through mid-June in silver. From the COMEX. Some has left, and an awful lot of gold has been loaded out. But it doesn't have to leave for it to be considered a delivery. These deliveries, what you're showing you by the biggest money in the world, are continuing to happen. That would be the first and most important thing that you would do before you were to issue those gold-backed treasuries. We saw $14 billion in gold delivered in the June contract, $14 billion on the June contract, almost $20 billion on the February contract. And every month in between, there have been billions worth of gold. It continues to be reshored. I'm hopeful that they will issue Judy's idea because I think it really is a solid fundamental idea that will help reinstill confidence. And in a system that is not backed by anything but trust, it's very difficult to trust any central bank or any governmental institution in this country or in any other. I think this is a first way to help do that. And quite frankly, I think if we don't do something soon, that we will see gold be reintegrated much more aggressively across the global south. And I think first to market on this has a significant global appeal. So we'll see. I'm hoping it comes out. And like everyone else, I'm a little disappointed we didn't see it July 4th, but I don't think the door is completely closed on her idea, nor does she. If you follow her recently, she still says she's trying. That was interesting. She said, for all you people out there that are bitching about this, why don't you, instead of bitching and pointing fingers, why don't you just write a letter to your congressman or congresswoman and do your part like I am? I thought that was interesting. It's not over yet. If I'm guessing on certain things, connecting, I'll say it like I always have. But the end is not here yet for this idea. And Ultimately, I think gold is being rewoven into the monetary system. I do believe that. Everyone is always constantly talking these days about gold moving west to east, and I have been one of them. I have, but I think what it truly is that instead of it moving west east, what it is, it's the plumbing of the systems is moving from a paper settlement system in the west to a physically much quicker settlement in the east. And you look at all of these exchanges that are now settlement exchanges where the price is being settled. That was always exclusive to London and the United States. Now prices are being settled in the Middle East in 1 day or less, immediate delivery, no futures. Here's the price. And I think this is a reaction to the lack of trust of the Western system. You can see they already did it with the London Metals Exchange. Who owns it? That's right, it's China. They bought the London Metals Exchange. And where are all the metals being warehoused? Largely in China. This is not just gold and silver. This is a slow-moving process of building an infrastructure under the guise of internationalizing the yuan so as to not piss off President Trump about the expansion of the BRICS. But don't kid yourself. It's exactly what this is. And I think it will begin to ramp up across the global south over time. Hopefully, we don't get left behind. And quite frankly, like I said, and I'll say it again, I say it with respect to Ms. Shelton, it's the best idea I've ever heard as a means to an end to help get us out of this problem with trust, with confidence, with transparency, and actually get to a point where we can actually produce as much or more than we consume. And that's how you get out of a problem without defaulting or hyperinflating.
Veteran precious metals expert Andy Schectman argues that the most important story in today's gold market is not daily price fluctuations, but the continued accumulation of physical gold by major institutions. He points to billions of dollars worth of gold standing for delivery on COMEX, suggesting that sophisticated market participants remain focused on securing physical metal despite ongoing volatility. Schectman also discusses the possibility of gold-backed U.S. Treasury instruments, describing the idea as a potential way to restore confidence, transparency, and credibility in the financial system. Beyond the United States, he believes the global monetary landscape is gradually shifting toward faster physical settlement, with new exchanges across the Middle East and Asia reducing reliance on traditional Western paper markets. In my opinion, the interview highlights an important distinction between short-term market pricing and long-term structural changes in the global gold market. While some conclusions remain speculative, the continued emphasis on physical gold demand, evolving settlement systems, and monetary reform makes this discussion highly relevant for investors following precious metals. Let's get into the interview.
The bottom line is the COMEX market was set up for decades, largely under the assumption that traders would not stand for delivery. They would either roll over, they would cash settle, or they would exit. And now you're beginning to see, no, I want the real thing, thank you. And it doesn't have to leave COMEX for it to be the real thing. They can still have it in a Brinks depository, fully segregated in an eligible account. No one's touching it. So that too much is made of that. Oh, it didn't leave COMEX. So what? It's in a vault, not part of the registered category anymore. Some of this is real. A lot of it is real. And I think they're beginning to realize when you look at not only all of the central banks that continue to purchase gold, the central banks, as an example, who are a bunch of liars, as a matter of fact, who tell us that, we bought, how much did we buy? They tell us that we bought 16 tons of gold through the first quarter of this year, right? And but what did the World Gold Council say? They said no, they're lying. They bought 15 times that. They did not buy 16 tons. They bought 244 tons. These are largely banks in the global south. And so these entities are massively accumulating gold, and they are massively migrating to places like Shanghai, like Singapore, like Dubai, like Hong Kong, like all of these eastern and southern centers where price is instantly calculated, not by the futures contract. You add into it tokenized gold that is segregated or audited or matched 1-to-1. Yeah, not only that, it blows up the ETF markets that a lot of people think are arguably less than straightforward with their share issuance and the amount of gold behind it. There has to come a point of reckoning where if you are going to sell something on a 1-to-1 basis, kind of like a proxy, then you must have authenticity in that, and it must not be over leveraged the way that, even like the goldsmiths did way back when. No one's coming to pick up their gold, so we can sell it over and over and over again. And it's enticing for these folks, right? They're getting called on the carpet. And I think, yeah, is a very fair question. And it would help, especially on the retail side. It would help add a lot of firepower to that statement. I think it's very intuitive statement, and one that I would say, yeah, it would probably have a profound effect.
As the interview concludes, Andy Schectman reinforces the idea that the precious metals market may be entering a fundamentally different phase. He argues that the traditional COMEX model relied on most participants settling contracts in cash or rolling positions forward, whereas an increasing number of investors now appear to prefer physical allocation. According to his analysis, this shift reflects growing demand for direct ownership rather than paper exposure. He also points to continued central bank gold accumulation and the rapid development of physical settlement hubs across Asia and the Middle East, suggesting that confidence is gradually moving toward transparent, fully allocated ownership. If this trend continues, markets that rely heavily on leveraged paper claims could face increasing pressure to prove that physical metal fully backs outstanding obligations. In my opinion, the interview presents a compelling long-term thesis centered on trust, transparency, and physical ownership. Although some of the conclusions remain debated within the financial community, the discussion highlights important structural changes that precious metals investors are closely monitoring. If you enjoyed this analysis, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below.